Greetings, yet again, Loud House enjoyers. And yeah, ever since I made the video about, the Loud House not being considered a stuck-in-the-middle ripoff, as it's usually incorrectly referred to as one, I have wondered to myself, what if I go deeper into the whole Loud House Iceberg? There's still a lot of info that even certain fans don't know about. The Loud House, not perfect. It's definitely one of my favorite Nicktoons of all time. It's definitely a show that that I've of course held dearly to, and for good reason. It is one of the few cartoons that has a more realistic depiction of what a family actually is, and as such, has the Loud Sisters replicating what a real-life family should be all about. Yeah, the Loud Sisters and even the parents. Yes, well, we had Candace Flynn bickering and arguing with her siblings, Phineas Flynn and Ferb Fletcher, and Danny and Jazz Fenton bickering and arguing. The Loud House is actually supposed to have more realistic teen-sibling relationships. But I've already discussed some of those details in some of my other videos. Because today, I'm going to be dwelling upon something that no other Loud House fan has ever ventured in, aside from Saccharine-Melody, who I've actually gotten in touch with and contacted, and became the reason why this whole iceberg video idea started. Because he keeps finding so much info about the Loud House. And it's crazy that such a seemingly innocent and simple kids show could have this much info. So, I'm going to talk about the various topics that dwell under the Loud House Iceberg. And I'm going to start with a topic that pretty much every fan knows about. So, I'm starting out with the usual stuff that, every Loud House fan knows about. Like, for instance, the Loud House not being considered a stuck-in-the-middle ripoff and being incorrectly referred to as such. I have found out that Bathroom Break predated Stuck in the Middle by a whole 2 years, so it shouldn't even be called a stuck-in-the-middle ripoff as much as Stuck in the Middle ripped off the Loud House. And Disney might have beat Nickelodeon to the game only because they wanted to take inspiration from that, short. So yeah, the Loud House isn't actually a stuck-in-the-middle ripoff. And of course, then there's stuff like the Loud House being inspired by comic strips. It doesn't rip off Garfield and Peanuts as much as it takes inspiration from them. Again, it's not ripping off those shows, it's just taking inspiration from them. Kinda like how Big City Greens is not considered to be a Simpsons ripoff, even though it does have some similarities. And then, of course, you have the Loud Sister sibling dynamics being realistic, and even guys like Blue Spider 17 understand what they are, and that's because the Loud House is going for more realistic family dynamics, and Castlevania actually explained this in full detail. And I'll show you her comment. So yeah, if you haven't seen the comment, it goes like this. She actually explains how different the sibling dynamics differ. You see, this is only part of the comments. She actually did explain in detail of how different these sibling dynamics are compared to the Loud sisters. But some people still don't understand. Well, some people who quit the show. And then you have another well-known fact that Luna Loud is a bisexual because she has a romantic relationship with Sam and Sully. So yeah, that fact is also known, and of course, Clyde's dad's being a confirmed married gay couple, which is actually really unique. And is what makes Clyde McBride stand out, because not everyone has a mom and a dad. They either have two moms or two dads. So yeah, a lot of the info is said here is well known by most fans, and pretty much, if not all fans. Yeah. So the show is going for a more realistic take on what a family is. That tidbit is actually well known and well engraved into the Loud House fandom. But then, I'm going to go into another bit of info that's still well known, but only certain fans know about it. So, let's go. The next part of info is, episodes like No Such Luck, Brawl in the Family, Schooled, and the backlash related to the episodes. So the story goes is that No Such Luck was the beginning to the end of the Loud House's peak. Yes, many believed it was the beginning of the end to the Loud House's peak, although the episode itself didn't do any harm. Yes, it's not a good episode, but the truth is that the backlash related to the episode and the fandom wars is what started it all. So, this is what started a downtrend in certain fans leaving the fandom. And of course, the same thing goes for Brawl in the Family. A lot of people didn't like Brawl in the Family. It was even made worse when popular YouTubers like Cartoonishy and Mr. Enter started to bash on the Loud House. And of course, the fandom wars is what started this whole damage. The toxic fans and the hate team caused more damage to the Loud House than all those bad episodes put together. And then, of course, you got Schooled, which was a highly anticipated episode, but it was actually the nail in the coffin for the Loud House's relevancy, quote unquote. Because we've began to see more people leave the fandom whenever an episode that tries to ruin the Loud House's reputation comes out. Yes, there might have been bad episodes before, like Save the Date, which is a polarized episode, and even one of the boys, but No Such Luck is what started this whole fandom war. And it's been going on ever since. Both No Such Luck and Brawl in the Family started this whole fandom wars. And of course, you got episodes like Schooled. Yeah, back to the topic of Schooled. Finally sealing the fate of the Loud House's relevancy. Some people didn't even want to deal with the Loud House anymore and wanted to have nothing to do with it. But there are still some people that like the show. Yeah. Schooled nearly ruined whatever the Loud House had left to it. And most of season 5 also wasn't really good. Schooled was a highly anticipated episode that was a good idea and had the Loud Sisters and Lincoln age up a year and every character age up a year. But then the backlash surrounding it was pretty immense. And people complained that Lincoln was sent into Mr. Bohofner's classroom instead of Mrs. Salter's classroom. Yeah. The backlash surrounding the episode was actually what did the most damage. Not the episode itself, so you shouldn't blame the episode for causing the most damage. Just the backlash. And while the Loud House is still popular and still going on, let's not forget that Schooled basically sealed the fate for the Loud House's relevancy. Some people believe that the Loud House should have been cancelled within season 3. But of course, the show staff didn't want to leave behind a show that was white hot. Yeah. So, I've explained about this in greater detail, but it wasn't really the episodes that caused the most damage. It was the backlash and the toxic fans and the hate them causing the most damage. And the impact that episodes like No Such Luck, Brawl in the Family, and Schooled had was immense. So yeah, on to the next topic, which of course is another thing that needs to be discussed in greater detail. Let's talk about Savino-gate. Yes, everybody knows about Savino-gate, even Loud House fans. Chris Savino was fired from Nickelodeon due to sexual misconduct. But there's actually more to this story than people realize. As I go deeper in the iceberg, I actually found some interesting info of what actually led up to Savino-gate. First, there was this comic known as The Complex Adventures of Eddie Puss. I'm not going to show you the comic for monetization purposes, but it was rather odd that the creator of the Loud House made a comic strip like this, especially when it's more adult themed. Yeah, the Loud House was never intended to be an adult cartoon from the start and watered down into a kid's cartoon. It was intended to be a kid's cartoon from the get-go because of the copyright date of the pilot episode, aka short, called Bathroom Break, dating back to 2013. It was greenlit by Nickelodeon. So yeah, that started this whole trend. But then, something also arose. A 4chan Fred actually managed to get a shout out from Chris Savino. No joke. So yeah, according to Saccharine-Melody or Saccharine-Melody, there's TLHG on 4chan who managed to get Chris Savino to give him the shout out without him even really knowing they were back in 2016 or 2017. And then guess what? He actually managed. Somehow, Saccharine-Melody actually managed to get in touch with Kyle Marshall. And this is proof. This is actually proof. See, look. This is actually proof that he managed to get in touch with Kyle Marshall, but actually a friend of his managed to get in touch with Kyle Marshall and passed it on to him. This is actually unheard of in the whole Loud House fandom. And it brings some new information to the whole debacle. It reveals so much information it's unbelievable and surprising of how a Savino Gate led to this. Yeah, and Savino Gate is the reason why the show staff nowadays rarely ever communicates with the fans. It's been impossible to try to get in touch with a fan. Try to get this show staff to get in touch with the fans. But back then, it wasn't always the case because it was actually easier for the show staff to get in touch with the fans. So Savino Gate did have an impact on the Loud House, and for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, so according to Saccharine-Melody, he confirmed that Savino Gate led to a lot of vitriol, or however you want to pronounce it, being passed at the Loud House staff, which was a big reason, but not the only one, why the staff stopped interacting with the public / fans. That's actually a big deal. And all this started because of an adult-themed comic. Imagine that. Yeah, some showrunners that make kids entertainment do get into a adult-themed entertainment, but not like this though. This was actually revealed, and the reason why Savino Gate existed is not because of the Loud House, but because of one comic strip that eventually led to his firing from Nickelodeon and the show staff no longer interacting with the fans, which is crazy to think of. So yeah, there's a lot more to Savino Gates than people even realize. And speaking of Chris Savino, the next topic is going to be one that needs to be discussed about when talking about the characterization in the Loud House. So let's go. But before I get to that topic, I'm going to talk about Lucy Loud and Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. And this is something that's has also been revealed by Saccharine-Melody. Seriously, like, there's gonna be so much info about Lucy Loud. That's gonna be in this whole iceberg. Alright, so according to Saccharine-Melody, another thing that has to be Lucy's unexpected popularity in big licensed games. In the case of Ludosity, that was based off of a single dev. Let me read that again. Another thing that has to be Lucy's unexpected popularity in big licensed games. In the case of Ludosity, that was based off of a single dev pushing hard for her until Nickelodeon relents it. They were almost certainly gunning for Clyde being the second Nick rep, but Ludosity wanted Lucy. So yeah, Lucy Loud unexpectedly got popular and became the most popular character of the show itself, next to Lincoln. And apparently Lucy struck it out so hard with the game's player base that she even went from Nickelodeon resisting her even being considered an NASB1 to being front and center on the box art in NASB2, to the point that it's actually ambiguous whether Lincoln, the main character, is in the game. He is. So this is mind-blowing of why Lucy Loud became so popular. So yeah, they actually had a fight with including Lucy Loud, and if you want to know more, this is the Discord message that he sent. Wow. So much about Lucy Loud is in this video. Might as well be called the Lucy Loud Iceberg. But this is an iceberg on the Loud House. So yeah, Lucy Loud appeared in the show. Well, appeared in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 1, and it's all because of a fight. So if you ever wonder why Lucy Loud appeared in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 1 instead of Clyde, this is why. Yeah, so on to the topic that I want to talk about and bring up. The strict characterization guidelines in the Loud House. So let's move along. If you haven't known already, Chris Savino made up strict guidelines of how certain characters, including pretty much the majority of the Loud sisters, should be portrayed. So, the reason why certain characters act the way they are is because of Chris Savino's guidelines. And the reason why he made these guidelines is so that the Loud Sisters don't steal the spotlight, and Lincoln, being the main character, would be the main focus. It's quite simple, really. Chris Savino didn't want any episodes about the Loud Sisters. But then, something happens. The whole Savino Gate controversy, and you'd think that would be over, right? Well, no. According to Saccharine-Melody, however you want to pronounce it, a lot of Savino's rules and guidelines are burned in so hard that the network executives, not even just the showrunners, are the ones who make the final say based on them, which is a big reason why, despite Savino being, well, no longer working on the show's general style and characterization has not changed much, even though fans were hoping it'd take a different direction and a better direction, and we're probably hoping that the characters would change. So yeah. That's what he said when I messaged him. And he did raise a good point. So that means that even if people wanted the Loud Sisters to change and want the show to go in a different direction, the guidelines that Chris Savino set up for the set up for the show itself, and probably the spin-offs, were burned into the Loud House pretty hard. So if you ever wonder why certain characters act the way they are, why they haven't changed, and why character development gets thrown out the window, especially when they don't even show when Lori went from being mean to being nice. That's why. It's all because of Chris Savino's guidelines. Not the writers, nor the show staff, but the guidelines. Think about it, okay? If these guidelines that Chris Savino were abolished, then maybe we could have the Loud Sisters start to develop and change, and we could have the Loud House go in a different direction. It's really something to think about. And that's something that even certain people who left the show and started hating it tended to forget. And I've actually known this thanks to him. So I'm giving credit to Saccharine-Melody for informing me about this. It's amazing what you can find in the Loud House. But on to the next topic. So, for many years, people believed that Lily Loud was the only good Loud sister in No Such Luck and in the entirety of the Loud House. Yes, that includes Camilla Orr, aka Orr. Yeah, and No Such Luck is what created this notion. But, what if I told you that wasn't actually the case? Because Chris Savino made creator comments on No Such Luck. And he had some rather interesting comments regarding Lucy Loud. Man, Lucy Loud just keeps on finding... Yeah, she just keeps on giving us more info to talk about. So yeah. Saccharine-Melody said, "Finally, there is a petition to canonize the Lucy retcon and No Such Luck, and it's surprisingly popular, getting well over 400 sign-ups in just 2 weeks ago. In fact, as a creator tip, structuring the video, you should dedicate a section wholly to No Such Luck and its fanfic responses, and how the fandom seemed to collectively decide that Lincoln and his sister Lily were the only good Louds, and that the Loud family had totally betrayed his own son and brother. And then record scratch, at least that was the accepted view of the events, until suddenly, out of the blue of summer 2023, it was discovered how little of a role Lucy actually played in the episode, despite this never being questioned before then, and this builds up and leads to the reveal. Despite there being no comment for 6 years, there suddenly was a flurry of comments and interaction starting in July, culminating in Chris Savino absolving Lucy of all wrongdoing in NSL, and how the whole thing going to Nickelodeon themselves potentially make it canon to the show itself would be quite the twist. Yeah, so this was just discovered. People actually wanted a retcon of No Such Luck. In fact, it would be better. And probably an episode dedicated to No Such Luck being told through the point of view of Lucy Loud. So yeah. Is it possible that Lucy Loud is the only other good Loud in the entirety of the Loud House? Well, she is. And this was just revealed. Lucy didn't play a big role in the show itself, but oh man, did she ever have quite the impact. And it's possible that in fan theory, Lucy Loud didn't want to actually argue with her own family on the whole bad luck fiasco, and secretly cared about Lincoln all along. And it's something to think about. And if you really go down on it, it just goes down to the sometimes things are not what you see ordeal. So, Lucy Loud did know a lot about bad luck, and she wanted to pitch in, but she was afraid she was going to get kicked out and neglected like Lincoln Loud was. And that led to her being the only other good Loud sister, quote unquote, besides Lily, who cares about Lincoln a lot. And this info was just revealed. It was revealed by Chris Savino of all people. How a bad episode got so much attention, which would lead up to this, is beyond me. But what I do know is that Lucy Loud should have played a bigger role in No Such Luck. It would have made the episode more interesting, and probably better than it already was, considering it was a really bad episode. And of course, Lucy Loud did care about Lincoln. She didn't want to intervene with the family, because she feared that the same thing would happen to her as happened to Lincoln. And I think this is actually a good idea, even though No Such Luck is not a good episode. And I'm not a fan of the fanfics either. I am never a fan of the fanfics, but the creator comments is definitely a YouTube video you should watch. Chris Savino had a lot to say about this. So yeah, Lucy Loud could possibly be the only other good sister that cared about Lincoln. And this could potentially lead into a sequel, if it were to actually exist, where Lucy Loud does a stand up for Lincoln, and she tells the truth about the whole bad luck fiasco, and that the blame is not to be put towards Lincoln, but the mishaps. And that she proves this when she actually shows them proof that Lincoln wasn't the one to blame, as they were just mere mistakes. And eventually, the family would eventually believe her. Pretty good, isn't it? All for a bad episode. And there's other fan theories I also want to discuss, but that will be later. But there's another topic that I want to talk briefly about. And let's go. Well, if you thought Loudcest was bad before, and if you hadn't had any other good reason to hate it, well, guess what? In 2017, Chump Jump got arrested a whole few days after Savino-gate broke in October 2015. Yeah, he was infamous for making his whole series of Loudcest comics and pics. And this actually led into the bad side of the fandom being shown more and more in people, giving the Loud House a bad rap. Yeah, true fans didn't want to be involved with this. They never wanted to. And when they found out that people were having comics and stories where Lincoln is loving his own sisters, it made them feel uncanny. And then Chump Jump got arrested. But there is actually a happy story to this. I'm not actually bashing on Chump Jump himself. He's a good artist, but I'm just speaking facts here. Eventually he was released from prison, and he did turn out to be a better person and started improving. I don't think he made Loudcest comics anymore. He stopped doing those. And that's probably for the best. Because if he were to keep up this whole Loudcest trend, imagine how many criminal offenses he would have. And this just goes to show that you shouldn't really get into Loudcest. Even I had to give up on it. Yes, I like Lincoln. Not as a romantic pairing, but as a sibling pairing though. However, I would still not get into Loudcest. Incest is wrong, people. You shouldn't get into it. And that's clear. And with stuff like this, it shows. And it proves that Loudcest and incest of all kind is a crime that shouldn't be repaid for. And that you should actually move on from it if you get released. So yeah, the moral of the story is, don't get into Loud House, everyone. Biggest mistake of your life. But anyways, on to some other fan theories that I found for myself. Yeah, there are some other fan theories that some fans have made up, like Sam Draw Stuff 123 believing that No Such Luck wasn't actually a real event and only happened through Lynn Loud Jr.'s nightmares. Which is actually quite a twist as well, and would be a reason why people don't mention it when bringing up the Loud House canon. And then you got stuff like well, let me think. Lucy Loud possibly being a witch, and Lenny Loud being a reincarnation of an angel. Some of the craziest theories out there that some people, like Weird Man 21, well, now known as Wacky Dude 2003, have denied. And there's also other rumors that well, Ronnie Ann might not be a bully all along. So yeah, people call Ronnie Ann a bully, but Jovan Loudster Jacob didn't actually consider her as such. So that goes with the theory that Ronnie Ann might possibly not be a bully and that she was only doing these pranks to communicate with Lincoln. Which is actually an interesting fan theory. And of course, there's other fan theories that I might not even know about myself. But yeah, out of all the fan theories that I've discovered, the Lucy and Ronnie Ann ones have been some of the craziest. And of course, there's still a lot of fan theories out there that people keep making up. And other fan theories that CP something 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 said that Lynn Loud Jr. was not trying to bully Lincoln, but trying to toughen him up. And that Stinkin' wasn't actually a bullying nickname, but a nickname that she came up with because it was just a sibling nickname after all, which does make sense. It's stuff like this that fans keep making, and fans will do anything to find something new to talk about with the Loud House. A show that has been going on for a long time, and it's entered its 7th season. So yeah, that's all I have to talk about when talking about the Loud House Iceberg. I'm sure there's more stuff. There might be canceled characters. There might be scrapped characters. And of course, another thing is that Catherine Mulligan was supposed to appear in a certain episode, but was cut. Which is mentioned on the Loud House wiki itself. And there's a lot of stuff about the Loud House that fans keep finding. And fans will probably still talk about Lucy even to this very day. She's the Loud sister that people talk about the most. And she became the most popular with grade school kids, although us Loud House fans on the internet don't usually talk to or even interact with grade school kids a lot. So yeah, Lucy Loud is the most talked about Loud sister, and she had more topics about her than any other Loud sister combined. So yeah, it's amazing that a simple kids show on Nickelodeon and something that is seemingly innocent could have so much to talk about in one video. I'm sorry if this went on for too long, but I really wanted to make a Loud House Iceberg video, and Saccharine-Melody actually helped me out on this and answered some questions that people might have not known about. There's a lot to find in the Loud House, and we might even have more stuff to talk about it in the future, so yeah. The Loud House will always have stuff to talk about. And that does it for now. Catch you guys next time, and peace out. This is Video Scott, signing off. Smaller channels are at risk, and every subscriber means a lot to them. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for the latest Racer Cinema Productions videos. And together, we can help drive the YouTube algorithm away from this channel, so that I don't succumb to the fate of other smaller channels getting defeated by the viewer-based algorithm.